Welcome back to Fold in the Cheese. It's your boy K-Troll on the mic today with a hint of Riddler, you might say. And I am joined by, I'm Iron Man?
Question mark?
Question mark? An Iron Man hoodie, a little bit lazy, but...
Yes. Well, again, you're lazy Riddler on a Sunday. I'm lazy Iron Man. Actually, this is one of the... So, okay, let me just roll it back a little bit. I know you and your family like to do the family costumes for Halloween, which is great, as have we. We have done that every year except for one where our kids went rogue, but we reeled them back in. So anyway, Kirsten and I always pride ourselves on being kind of resourceful with our costumes. Like, if the kids want to get a specific costume, we'll buy that one. You know, like Brady was Groot this year, or if he was a Paw Patrol kid, you know, we'll buy the kids' costume. That's totally fine. But with us, we're like, we don't need to buy costumes. It's just going to sit in the closet. I don't want to spend $50 on mine, just whatever. So one year when we first got here to Michigan, like, oh, let's be the Avengers. So I'll be Iron Man. Brady's going to be Captain America. Addison was Captain Marvel. And Kirsten was Black Widow. So this was the one time I'm like, you know what? I'm looking online and I saw like, oh, it's a cool like Iron Man sweatshirt. I'm like, you know what? I like that sweatshirt anyway. I would probably rock that throughout the year regardless. I'm like, you know what? Let's go for it. But of course, it's one of these like websites from, I don't know,
China website
or China or whatever. I probably ordered it maybe October 1st. I think I got it by Christmas. So that was instant regret there. And then this is the shittiest quality hoodie I have ever worn. I think it's reflective because I think it's mainly just plastic. And it's a medium, but it's essentially a tube top what are these? What are the ones with the mid showing? A crop top. So
crop top.
Yeah.
Instant
regret. And that's why I never buy anything for my costume anymore. I just make do with what I got. And usually it's spectacular. So instant regret. Might as well wear this the one time of the year.
So we've complained every year about the shipping fiascos around Halloween. And so you've got to stay ahead of it big time because that's happened to us a bunch too, where it's like, it'll be here. Well, it'll tell you like estimated arrival is between October 18th and November 5th. And I'm like, listen, one of those is fine. One of them is very much not fine. So can't take chances. This is probably actually a really good time to buy an outfit. I imagine they're on sale, and also
they'll probably get here in time for next
Problem
year.
is, of course, your kids dictate the outfits, same as ours, and impossible to pin them down this far in advance.
Yeah, I think at this point last year, Addison said she wanted to be a mummy. Brady wanted to be, I don't know, maybe a bookshelf. Who knows? I did see obviously all the Halloween memes and stuff come out on social media and whatnot. I saw one kid was parading his kid around. Like, my kid wanted to be pants. So he just put him in like it was probably like a 4-year-old, just put him in his adult pair of pants, just had it up to his neck, like, your pants.
I'm pants. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys were the Avengers, or no, you were Guardians of the Galaxy this year.
Yes, we were Guardians. So
that's right.
We bought Brady's Groot costume, bought Addison's Nebula, and then Kirsten, did a great job with her Gamora outfit on her own. She has these crazy boots. She wore like a weighted vest, which actually looked legit because it was like. And then she did dye her hair, the tips red, had the green face paint, so she knocked it out of the park.
Nice.
The only problem with Star-Lord, especially, I have a leather jacket, which he does rock. But other than that, it's like very nondescript unless you have the mask. And I didn't have the mask, but I did make my own blaster, which actually was pretty good. It did look movie prop quality. It looks pretty good. Looked pretty good.
You don't have that handy, do you? That you can just whip out right now?
It's downstairs. I mean, if you really want me to, I could go get it.
But... That's all right. That's all right. We'll see. I'll see you later. It'll be for my eyes only.
For your eyes only, yes. Maybe for our premium subscribers, you can see it.
Yeah, premium subscribers behind the paywall. So we were all Batman villains, which is funny because my kids have never seen anything Batman other than, I guess they have seen Lego Batman, come to think of it, and they love Lego Batman. So that actually does make sense now. But so we had Harley Quinn, which is a purchased costume. We ended up purchasing all of ours this year. We kind of do the same thing though. Typically, we're not. I don't know. We're kind of half and half. Jamie prefers to try and make it. Right. The last time I tried to make it, I was a Tin Man, and she just threw a bunch of aluminum foil on me, and it was so awful. I got so mad that I was like, I will not do that again. I will purchase a costume. I would be fine like not dressing up, of course. Like I have no desire to do that as an adult, but it's entirely for the kids.
Right.
So the kids wanted to be Batman villains, all villains. So we had Harley Quinn for Nora. We had the Joker for Miles was fantastic. I did his face paint.
Ooh.
We spray painted his hair green and spiked it up and everything. He had this purple pinstripe suit. He looked awesome. And then Jamie did Poison Ivy, and she kind of bought some stuff and made some stuff. She bought like the wig and the eye mask and some like Ivy stuff to put on her, and then she had some green stuff she wore. And then of course I had this full Riddler get up, which is a full suit. I went and bought like a cheap little top hat thing, and I had a green eye mask, and then I had a like a tie and everything.
But
and I bought the cane. I found the cane as well.
Yeah, as I say, the cane staff that held it all together. So.
The cane was pretty clutch, yeah. So I had a whole get up. We got a lot of compliments in the neighborhood. People were loving the kids in particular, obviously, which is how it should be. But
and I honestly, I see Nora as Harley Quinn. She would just go bananas on anybody with that hammer or mallet or whatever she carries around. So
this time, that's the thing. There's so many different versions of all of these characters. So she had a baseball bat, but it was inflatable, thankfully. But she was still whacking shit at people.
Thank God. So I know, just in life in general, you love dog videos and basically any animal funny videos, whether they're doing human things or just being ridiculous. So for Halloween, what always gets me, all those inflatable costumes, whether it's like someone getting abducted or it's like one big chicken or whatever, those get me every time. And I'll just be like, I'll just laugh. I'll just see them and I'll just start laughing, especially if the kids are selling it. Like if they do choppy movements or stuff like that, I'm like, you have all my candy. You get it.
Yeah, those are fantastic. And I think my kids really want to do that next year because they saw several of them. They saw like a Mario riding a Yoshi. They saw like an alien abducting someone. They saw a guy riding a dinosaur. Like they saw those. They're kind of like, I want one of those inflatable ones next year. Those are fantastic. I'm a big fan.
Those get me every time.
I agree. But yeah, I'm a big sucker for those little Shih Tzu videos where they've got them all dressed up like Chucky and they're walking like dum 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 dum.
I really almost thought about getting Ember one. I didn't know. He probably just be like, "The hell are you doing?" And just like
the dogs, they don't really like it. They don't like it. That
much. They don't like it.
They don't like it. We tried that last year. We did Chewbacca for Skip, and we did Yoda for a Deacon. And I don't know. Deacon was really mad. He was really pissed. He was like, "I am 13 years old. Like, get this off of me."
Yeah. What do you expect? But I can see him that he is actually a fitting Yoda. That is very fair. I don't know about you, but it was snowing here last night, so that was great.
Oh yeah, it was freezing. It was cold here. It was like in the 40s here, low 40s, which is very cold for Tennessee. Snow in October in Michigan is par for the course.
You know what you signed up for. Yeah, so yes, the spooky season is now officially concluded. But so was it spooky for you last week in our league? Did you get off the schneid?
You know what? Was it trick or treat? It was a treat for me last week. Yeah. Shockingly, my team came through in the clutch. I got another W. I'm now 2-6. Yeah, still in the hunt. That's much.
The thing. You're only 2 games out of the playoffs, man. Only 2 games out.
Yeah, I'm like 100 points out too, though. So I'd have to win at least. I'd have to gain at least 3 to have a shot. But
that's true.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've said it a lot of times. I don't hate this team. It's just been shitting the bed all year. And I don't know. Maybe I've got some magic left. You never know. Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, all on there. Come on, man. Anything can happen.
Anything is possible. Just ask KG. Yeah, I also had a treat. I had a good week. I was a little nervous heading into Monday night because Josh still had Devontae Adams, but I still had Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr had a great game. So I'm happy. I'm 6-2. So. But again, it's crazy because, I was just looking at the standings today. And again, you're 2 games out of the playoffs. And I'm only technically 2 games up on the 6th seed. So it's really close. Everything is kind of really tightly matched.
No one's like running away with it. There's 2 teams that are tied at 6-2 like you are. But then it's a bunch of middle, 5-3, 4-4, a lot of 4-4s. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of mixed in there. Listen, there's a chance. I'm not at all optimistic that my team's going to do enough to get this thing done, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you started yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, but kind of like to parlay into the next conversation, like the NFL, some crazy things are happening. And because of that, I think fantasy is like wide open right now. Like there are some opportunities to get some hot players. There's some opportunities to sell high, buy low. There's some crazy like waiver claims right now. The quarterbacks in particular, and that's what I want to talk about today. The quarterbacks are nuts right now. there are so many teams who have question marks at quarterback this week and several that have question marks for the rest of the season.
For the season.
I want to get your takes. I want to riddle you on your takes. Riddle me this. On your takes on several teams, what they're going to do with their quarterback situation and what that means for other players going forward as well.
All right. So are you going to throw them out? And then obviously we'll go back and forth, but are you throwing them out to me? Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's start with the biggest news. Kirk Cousins tearing his Achilles. Yeah. Obviously, that was a major bummer. He was having another really solid year. Seems like a really good dude. I don't know. I don't think you watched that quarterback documentary yet on Netflix. I watched it. I think a lot of people and everything I've read has been like everyone's perception of Kirk Cousins kind of changed after watching that. They all thought he was just kind of like this crappy, really lame dad joke type. And he is a dad joke type. But he's actually a really solid dude. And he works his tail off and he's very committed. He's all about durability and all that. So that's a big loss for the Vikings. They just recently traded for Josh Dobbs.
So, just quickly on Kirk Cousins, like everyone's saying, he's a great locker room guy. And, I mean, you just saw it. Even he knew his Achilles was torn. He's getting onto the cart, and yet he's still out there like he was watching the final play before he got carted off, and he was clapping for his teammates. Even though he knew all the pain he was in and his situation, he was still kind of focused on the team in that last drive. But, so I honestly thought the Vikings made a very shrewd move in going for Josh Dobbs because Josh Dobbs was in basically a please fail situation in Arizona. Like they did not want him to succeed. They were basically stacking the deck against him. And just since he was a NASA physicist or engineer, he was able to actually have some success on his own in Arizona. So the fact that the Vikings go out and get him, obviously he's not a Kirk Cousins, but I think he could step in and do fine. Like the Vikings have come back from the dead. They're 4-4 now. They're probably not going to win the division. The Lions are looking real good, but they can make some noise. And the fact that he's going to have a Justin Jefferson coming back, Jordan Addison has stepped up. You still got T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, Madison Akers is a competent backfield. So honestly, fantasy implication wise, I think the Vikings will be all right. Obviously, everyone's going to take a slight step back. But I mean, I would buy on the Vikings if someone. I mean, no one's going to be shopping Justin Jefferson regardless. But on a Jordan Addison, I would buy on him. Just because I think he'll be good.
I think same thing with
I like what he's done.
Same thing with Hawkinson. I would say the same thing. So I think he's a really competent replacement. I agree with all that. He does add some value with his legs, which could open up lanes for the running game a little bit. So maybe Madison, or Akers. I know they're splitting, which is not ideal, but if you're looking at him as a flex play anyway, maybe they're a decent value for you. I do think like there's still question marks for me. Like he's not going to start this week. So they've got a rookie. They're going to start this week.
Yep.
Jaren Hall, who's a BYU quarterback. I do think there's going to be a little bit of like a wait and see with the team in general, which is kind of like, are we really going for this thing? Or are we not going for this thing? And my guess is they're going to want Dobbs to start, after this week. And if they continue to lose some games and kind of fall out of the playoff race, you got to remember the NFC is god awful this year. So
it is bad.
You could get into the playoffs. Definitely 8-8, or 8-9 or whatever could potentially get into the playoffs as a wild card this year. So they don't have to win that many more games to get there. But if they lose several in a row, and if in particular they fall out of the playoff picture, I think you might see Jaren Hall come back in and start just to see what they've got with him. I think teams need to do that assessment. I think Dobbs is like, hey, if we have any shot of making the playoffs, he's our guy. Now, is he going to win a Super Bowl for them? No. And that's kind of why I'm sort of like, I don't know. I mean, I get why you went after him to steady the ship. I don't know. It wasn't super splashy. It was kind of like let's just keep this thing
splashy, but what quarterback on the current market could they have gotten that would have been splashy? Sam Darnold. But as we talked about, the Niners aren't going to get rid of any quarterbacks anytime soon.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I guess you could say like Jacoby Brissett, but the same kind of
flashy,
same argument as Josh Dobbs, honestly. Tannehill, same. Like, I don't know.
Is this a bad quarterback market right now? Not even market. I'm just trying to think of even.
Is the NFL full of bad quarterbacks? Yes, is the answer. The answer is yes.
What starter would they have gone for that would have been splashy? That one, people would have been willing to part with, and two would have been like splashy. I'm like, Baker Mayfield?
Yeah. It's totally fair. There's no one they could have gotten that would have been like, we're gonna win the Super Bowl now.
Right.
But I also think there's no chance that Josh Dobbs wins the Super Bowl with this team.
No.
As much as I like the guy. Make it happen.
So I know this is kind of straying from fantasy a little bit, but the Vikings are kind of now in a tough situation because this is the end of Kirk Cousins' contract. And so
yeah,
what do you do with that? I mean, obviously he's a good locker room guy, good culture guy, but he's getting up there. He's not going to be cheap. What do you do? So that's kind of going to be interesting to how that unfolds.
So here's a couple names that I actually just thought of that may have made sense for them. Okay.
All right.
Number one, and I don't know what the situation is. It's still very cloudy, but Kyler Murray. What's going on in Arizona with Kyler Murray? Is he going to come back this year? His pup window is opened. If he doesn't come back in by week 10, I think he's on the pup for the rest of the season, maybe.
Right.
There's a little bit of bad blood there. There's also a new regime, maybe tanking for a draft pick, Caleb Williams, but he's still got a big contract ahead of him. That's someone they could have traded for. Granted, that's a massive contract, and if you've already got Cousins, probably wasn't a way to make that happen this quickly. But that's one. Justin Fields is another one. Say what you want about Justin Fields. He's shown flashes of being great. The Bears are clearly not sure if he's their guy or not. Right. Maybe someone would take a shot on him. I don't know. Just two names to think of because the Bears are another team right now. Fields is still out with his thumb injury. Right. He's already not going to start this week 9. And so you're going to see more Tyson Bagent. So what happens to the Bears?
The only thing I'll say with those two names is that then again, that's why the Vikings are in such a tough spot, because if you go over those two names, you're basically saying, Kirk, see ya. Thanks for the time, you're done. And so they go for a Josh Dobbs who says, we're leaving the window open for Kirk to potentially come back, and we don't want to sour that relationship. You go for those two guys, you're done. You've already made your decision that you're going all in this year and that Kirk's done. So I don't know. They clearly didn't want to necessarily do that, but also probably weren't.
That's true. And it just happened Sunday, and the trade deadline's Tuesday, right. So you're there's not much time to make that call, right?
Screw it. Give me Josh Dobbs.
But there is a possibility, though, especially if they're losing, there's a possibility Justin Jefferson doesn't come back off of IR, and that's a lot of the buzz, too, because he's they don't want to kind of like a Strasburg, used to do. They don't want to waste him for a season that's down the drain, you know what I mean? Pitch count, whatever. So, keep an eye on that for sure.
So he's let's see, he's still gonna be out next week, right? Yeah. And then he'll be coming back. Okay.
Then he could come back. There's a lot of other teams I want to get to. We won't go as in depth as we did with the Vikings here, but it was just there's so many. So I mentioned the Bears first off briefly.
Yes.
Immediately, do we think Fields? Is there any reason that they may not play him to keep him healthy for a trade market, or to what I mean?
I don't think they not play him. I think when he's back, when he's healthy, they're going to put him out there. I mean, they can't keep throwing Tyson Bagent out there. I know they beat the Raiders, but that was a terrible situation for the Raiders as well. No, I think
what's the incentive to win?
What's the incentive to win? To see if they have something with him. I mean,
3 years in to see if they have something with him.
I mean, his first year. Here's the thing: he started this year off terribly, but then he threw 8 touchdowns in 2 games. You obviously know what he can do with his legs. It's been a cluster in Chicago, and so now they finally got him a weapon in DJ Moore. I don't know. I don't think they would shut him down. I think you got to show that you're going to be not sure what you're going to do with your draft pick. Obviously, they have 2 top 5 essentially draft picks coming up, and they don't want to show their hand. If they're shutting down Fields, they might be saying, yep, we're done. We're tanking for Caleb. And then his value goes down. So you got to keep putting him out there, setting him up for success just to keep your options open. So I don't think they're done with him. I don't think they should move on.
Okay.
Yeah, put him out there.
So similar question, hometown here with Titans. All right, we got a bit of a quandary here because Will Levis came out and balled out last week. And I definitely didn't see that coming. So I'm not a big believer of his. But I know the guy's got a cannon, which is great. Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins made the Falcons look like a bunch of fools out there.
Yeah.
But the passes, even the first 3, I would say, the third touchdown to Hopkins was like a slant. That was an easy over the middle pass. But the first 2 weren't great passes. The second one, he got way open behind coverage, which again, you got to complete that pass. So good on you.
But that's what great receivers do. They bail you out of this. So it might not have been a great pass, but DeAndre Hopkins is going to make it one. And that's so true. I'm buying DeAndre Hopkins because this is, and I know I've said this in episodes in years past, when you have that young quarterback, you need that safety valve. You force feed your superstars. And I always said, whether it be a tight end or your stud. And this is what they did. They came out and made a point of emphasis. Get him the damn ball. He will bail you out. And he did just that. I mean, I was looking at it and I was like, man, I haven't been following DeAndre Hopkins at all. Maybe I'm a little butthurt that he didn't go to the Patriots. But I was also just like, he hasn't been making news. So I'm like, what is going on? So I was looking at it. I'm like, holy crap. Like he's had 2 good weeks.
Yeah,
and
he's had like it's a yo-yo season.
5 targets, 6 targets. So I think here with a young quarterback, I'm buying DeAndre Hopkins if Will Levis is going to be here the remainder of the year, just because just throw it to him every time. I mean, I think it was either last season or the year before I was watching the Cardinals with DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray literally threw him the ball 12 straight times. I'm like, that's what you should do.
Your best player. That is what you should do. 100%. I agree. You got Derrick Henry pounding it through the line. Right? You got DeAndre Hopkins. That's it. Game over. I agree.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I would buy on DeAndre Hopkins. I'm saying that right
I think they've got to obviously have to let Levis start this week and see. It's Thursday Night Football, I think, against the Steelers. So make sure it wasn't a fluke. And if he's good again, I think he's it for the rest of the year, honestly, for 2 reasons. One, like he's better than Tannehill if he plays well. He's better than Tannehill already, right now at least.
Tannehill's done.
2, if things do go south, you still needed to get the assessment anyway. So it's kind of a perfect situation when you need to get an assessment and the guy turns out to be pretty good. You got to go for it. So
would you buy DeAndre right now, or are you selling him? You think selling while he's hot?
Listen, it'd be tough to buy him today. I would probably wait until Thursday Night Football, and I think he cat's out of the bag. Like I don't think he's going to just go ham. Now I think Minka Fitzpatrick is hurt for the Steelers, so I think they've got to devise a game plan to kind of stop Hopkins. And if he has even a slight tick down Thursday, then I'd probably jump on him.
Then you jump on him. In game.
Yeah. In game, yeah. Maybe he's hobbled a little bit. It's fake injuries. My ankle kind of hurts. Yeah, I'm buying.
Rashid Rice for him right now. Go.
Go. All right. We got a long list here. So Steelers, Pickett's kind of banged up. Trubisky maybe coming in. I think that's kind of 1 for 1, honestly.
I would buy no Steelers. I mean, Pickett has not taken the step that everyone has expected him to. Trubisky is just not good, unfortunately. I feel like he's a good dude. I don't know why I feel that way. Just kind of seems that way.
I think he's a complete shithead.
I'm not buying
any reason for that either.
Any Steelers, so I would. It doesn't matter if it's Trubisky or Pickett. I'm staying away from all of them.
There's value there. I mean, there's value in Deontay Johnson had a nice week this week. There's value in George Pickens.
Has he scored a touchdown yet?
He did earlier this season, I believe.
Did he? Yeah, he was shut out last year.
I think he ended that streak, as did Godwin. Godwin had a long one going too for a while.
They did.
I'll double check on that, but yeah. Nope, he has not. Never mind. Big news. Big news. No touchdown, Deontay Johnson.
Nope.
I forgot he missed He missed 4 games. I forgot he missed 4. I thought it was just a couple.
Right.
But yeah, he's got value, man. 14 targets this week. It's he's got value for sure. He's a PPR monster. Always has been. George Pickens was kind of shut out until he caught a nice 35-yard touchdown. So there's value in the receiving game. The running backs are freaking killing me. So don't get me started on that. But yeah, I think 1 for 1 Trubisky for Pickett. Yeah. Falcons did something weird with Desmond Ridder. He got assessed for a concussion, but they said he was cleared to go back in, but he didn't go back in. And then Heineke came in and looked better, as we all expected he would, than Desmond Ridder. So what do you think they're going to do? Are they going to make the switch?
I don't think they're going to make the switch. I think they'll give Ridder one more chance. I mean, they basically left him off the hook there by saying, I mean, maybe he was concussed, maybe he wasn't. But if you look at some reports, it says he was benched. But you look at others, as you said, it was the concussion, but who knows? So, I mean, he's been walking a thin line anyway. So I think they'll give him basically one more week. And who they got this week? They got the Vikes. So that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder versus Jaron Hall.
Yeah. So that'll kind of be, but once again, for the fantasy implications, maybe you do want the Heineke in there just because YOLO.
Oh, 100%.
He can
fantasy,
sling it.
You definitely want Heineke. 100%.
So does that help or hurt Bijan? I mean, otherwise, what other fantasy studs are you looking for on the Falcons? Is Kyle Pitts,
Drake London? Yeah, if Heineke's in there, they could actually be good players.
They could actually do something.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's also a YOLO bomber.
Are you buying on any of those guys? I mean, take John. You would obviously buy him, John. But
well, that's why I asked the question about do you think they're going to bench Ritter? Like, because you can't buy him if you don't know.
I think he'll be back this week. But that's me.
Arthur Smith says we have to find a way to win this game. But he also says we'll see where he's at, how he feels or something, as if it's still up to his physical ailments. I don't know. I agree with you that he's not afraid to bench a guy. Like I also in that quarterback series, the Marcus Mariota story was kind of messed up in Atlanta. So I think he wants to win games. I think he's more concerned about that than anything else. But
he doesn't care about fantasy, you guys. He doesn't care.
He about freaking hates fantasy. He's such a dick. But I will say, if you want like a speculative buy, if you've got like extra room, to where like you could make a deal and it wouldn't be like giving away one of your starters necessarily. If you could package a deal,
Roddy White,
maybe go for Drake London, Kyle Pitts wouldn't be a bad idea.
Roddy White,
if it works out, if Heineke takes over, then it could be really good for you.
Okay.
How about
what would you give? No, real quick, what would you give up for Drake London? What is the tier?
Okay, so let's take a look at my team because I actually weirdly have like a kind of deep bench of like average players. So I've got like Hollywood Brown, KJ Osborne, Zach Moss, Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders. Okay. I think if I would potentially try and be like, hey, I'll give you KJ Osborne and Chuba Hubbard or something like that, maybe, or Miles Sanders, maybe. Like, do you think someone would give me Drake London for that? Maybe.
Depends on their depth.
Yeah. If they needed a flex and they felt good about those guys and they felt like, it can help you navigate the bye weeks a little bit, maybe.
I mean, unfortunately for KJ, obviously once JJ comes back, his numbers are going to dip. But,
if JJ comes back.
If JJ, you heard it here, second, third.
You heard it here. 100 people are talking about that right now. Okay, real quick, I want to rapid fire some of these teams.
All right.
The Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. So, yes. And Jimmy Garoppolo has been a complete turd. So, is there any chance they're just gonna bench him, cut him? Like, is there any chance that happens, or is he?
Who are they putting in? Brian Hoyer, Aiden McDonald,
Aiden O'Connell. I would put Aiden O'Connell in and see what you got. I mean,
you did see that against the Bears, and he lost to Tyson Bagent.
It was one game.
It was one game.
Put someone in there and say your only job is to throw the ball to Devontae Adams, and if they don't do it, you're out. Now you're in. Can you throw to Devontae Adams? Nope, you're out. Okay, next.
Yeah,
I would just keep doing that.
So with that, are you selling Josh Jacobs because of the uncertainty of the offensive leadership?
Yes, I do think that Josh Jacobs got a big boost because of McDaniels. I think it's what happened last year when he went from like average running back to like superstar.
Yep.
It makes me very nervous that McDaniels is gone, even though he's a crappy head coach. He does scheme running backs pretty well. It does make me nervous. So yeah, I might try and move him.
Okay, so you're selling Jacobs. Would you be buying Devontae? Because right now it's stock pretty low.
It depends, right? If the person who has him is frustrated and it's just like this is never going to happen, sure, I'd buy him. But if they're frustrated and they're like, it's Devontae freaking Adams, like I can't just give him away. I can't fire sell him. I think it'd be tough to get him.
You start getting into blind resume situations like it's Devontae freaking Adams, but he was thrown quote unquote the ball 7 times against the Lions, caught one of them.
Yeah, let me see. Let me real quick. I'm going to blind resume. Keep talking about this. I want to blind resume and see where he's at points wise.
Because don't get me wrong, Devontae Adams is such an insane talent, but again, we fall into this trap of he is, but if there's no one to throw to him, and another blind resume darling on the same team, Hunter Renfrow.
True.
A year or two ago, he's a top 15, top 20 wide receiver. Now I don't think he has over 12 catches on the season. So it makes a huge difference, one, who's throwing the ball, and now obviously the uncertainty with the coaching staff. But maybe that's kind of the boost that they would need. Say, hey, I'm an interim right now. My only job, as you said, is to get Devontae Adams the ball. So
the problem with Devontae is he had a 40-point game that kind of really skewed everything. But outside of that, it's been one game at 20, a couple at 12, one at 15, and the rest single digit. Like, it's been really bad. So he's on the season, he's sitting right around Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman, Jordan Addison. Those guys are on either side of him.
Yep.
So if you were truly just like, hey, points for points, I'll trade you Michael Pittman for Devontae Adams. Truthfully, I would not trade Michael Pittman. I wouldn't get rid of Pittman for Devontae Adams right now because he's on fire with Minshew, and that's what's up right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it'll be tough to do.
Yeah, because okay, so I just pulled up Devontae too. So targets 9, 8, 20 targets, 13, but then 4, 5, 12, 7. So I mean, it's all over the map and not great.
Not great.
Not great at all.
We have a lot of other teams that have quarterback problems. The Patriots, I didn't want to bring it up, but I had to.
But there are no weapons there. Like this,
Mac Jones.
Fantasy implication 0 because no one's taking a Patriot quote unquote wide receiver.
That is fair, but you got to stop throwing it to the other team. They're not on your team. They wear different colored jerseys, so stop doing that, Mac Jones.
Stop that.
The Giants have Daniel Jones injury. Tyrod Taylor has been pretty solid in his absence. The Browns, Deshaun Watson just doesn't feel like playing right now. Maybe I don't know what that's all about. PJ Walker's been
falling out though.
PJ Walker's been fine. I mean, whatever, Deshaun. That's why you don't guarantee people money. That's why you don't do that,
especially a douche like that guy. But
Cardinals. We talked about this a little bit with Kyler. I'm so hopeful he comes back and plays this year. I need him in our dynasty league, and I've got him in another league too. Like I need him to come back and play. But Clayton Tune is going to start this week. I don't think it's going to go well. They're playing the Browns. It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Commanders with Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett. Sam Howell's been sacked 100 times.
Yes, but he's putting up crazy fantasy numbers. To tell you that.
He's putting up fantasy numbers, but they're not winning games, and that's
not real numbers.
Team.
Oh, but
they had a fire sale.
I was going to say real quick on the Commanders, I love how they basically came out and said our trade implications will depend on how we do against the Eagles. If we lose the Eagles, take anybody you want. If we beat them,
they were open for business, man, big time.
Yeah.
They really were, and they got rid of a couple studs too. And the 49ers got even dead. Rich got richer. 49ers. He's a great depth piece for a defensive line. Absolutely.
I feel like that's a blind resume name because he has not really done that much in the NFL.
He's been nearly as good as they hoped he would be, but I think he'd surprise you at how solid he's been. And for the 49ers, when you've already got Nick Bosa.
Right. I mean, it's a no-brainer for the Niners. It's because you don't need him to be your star. You don't need him to but you go in and be good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He's a little bit of a Jadeveon Clowney type, right? I mean, sort of that like mega hype, never really lived up to it kind of thing.
True.
But
very
anyway.
True. Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of teams right now who don't have a quarterback or have a question mark at quarterback and need to figure something better out. So
it's crazy that there's only really like 15 good quarterbacks in the NFL. It's bizarre. I feel like there should be more, but there really aren't. Is that our quarterbacks just not getting as good? Like you're very top heavy, so they're just not like why? Why is this not a question to be answered right now? Because it is
riddle me this. Yeah, I've been asking that question for a long time. How we can't find more than 10 good quarterbacks in the world to play in the NFL. I don't know.
Well, I mean, just ask Cam Newton. He says there aren't 32 guys better than him, so maybe he'll be back.
There you go. Bring him back. RG3 still wants to play, I think.
Oh God,
he's still trying
to be back. Week 8 in the books. Week 9 coming up. So until next time, keep on folding.
Fold it.